Hi folks, welcome to Beneath the Bridge for the I-10. We're about to start the Pacific Crest Trail, Section C, along with bypassing trains. Hey folks, welcome to Beneath the Bridge under the I-10. We're about to start the Pacific Crest Trail, California, Section C. And as we do, we're going to start with an apple pie, courtesy of some wonderful trail angels. Don't know if you can make it out or not, but there's a hiker down there. I'll bet he's well over a mile ahead of me. And over on that far ridge over there, yep, that's another hiker. I'll bet there's 2 miles of trail right here that I can see. All of it hot, dry, and very little shade. We're here at the Whitewater River. It's the largest crossing for the PCT in Southern California. Pretty nice place to be. After being in the desert, with it being really hot and windy, and we come across this, and the water's, it's not that cold. It's not like freezing where it hurts to get in, it just feels gosh darn comfortable. Probably in the 80s even. Good morning. We're walking Section C, and this morning we have the privilege of walking along Mission Creek. Mission Creek. It's been Mission Creek since the 1850s, even though there's no missions around here. This nice little canyon that we're going to be walking through here, it's giving us protection. Well, there's a little bit of sunshine, but mostly protected from the sunshine. It's cool, there's trees, water flowing. Pretty nice little hike this morning. The creek makes for about a 12-mile section of the trail where you don't need to carry water. You can, but as you can see, there's plenty flowing here. It's quite a contrast compared to the hot, dry, cactus-filled sections we've been hiking through. It's kind of nice to have a little section with some water like this. We've climbed into the San Bernardino National Forest, and I gotta tell you, I'm pretty happy to be walking in the trees every now and again. Still gotta do a lot of open walks in the sunshine on the ridges and stuff, but every once in a while you get to drop into the trees, and that's kind of nice. Okay, now this water source is way better than that last water source I was thinking I could get water at. Well, it's a beautiful morning, but I've just gone from the last mile with the lightest pack I've probably had since I've been out here. Guys, I only need to carry a little bit of water to get me up to this water source here, but this is the last water source for another 18 miles, so I now have about the heaviest pack I've had. Not quite, but pretty darn close. And I'm now up at elevation in the San Bernardino Mountains. There's no doubt in my mind that this W on the trail was left for Warrior Wizard, the Wonder Woman from Australia. She's somewhere ahead of me now. Well, this may be my last recording before Big Bear. Battery's running low on the phone, and I've learned that my 10,000 milliamp battery is about to run out of juice, so I'm gonna turn everything off but let it go till it dies, so I can keep track of as much of the trail as possible. But that tells you, 4.5, 5 days, that's my battery limit with the current setup. It's been a couple of zeros in Big Bear, and Rose is here at the trailhead to drop me off, and I will be continuing on in Section C. It's the first day back on the trail after spending a couple of zeros in Big Bear with Rose. It was pretty good. A couple places to recommend. Saucy Mama's, great for Italian food, pizzas, pastas. Very, very good. I think it's called the Grizzly Bear Cafe for breakfast. Oh my God. They do breakfast and they do lunch if the cook decides he wants to hang around that long, but don't plan on it. Really, really good food there. A lot of fun. It's a hole in the wall. Probably seats, 20 people. I don't know. It's small. Another place, if you can, on the way back to the trailhead, we had breakfast at Thelma's in Big Bear City as opposed to Big Bear Lake. That was really good too. The trail in this section has been pretty good, and by that I mean it has very little elevation change. There was like 1 mile that we had to route around a fire that was pretty steep, and that's because we routed onto the road, the dirt road. That wasn't any fun. But then most of the rest of the trail is not too much in the way of elevation changes, ups or downs. And when there is a change, it tends to be a down. Kind of like it's giving it back to us from where we had to earn it, climbing up into the San Bernardino Mountains. So far I'd say, today, pretty good. Clearly there's been some mining here in the past in this part of the San Bernardino Mountains. You can see the tailings on the distant ridges. I heard a rumor that there's 250,000 people going to be over in the Big Bear Lake area this weekend. That's probably because it's Memorial Day weekend and there's a whole lot of people coming up. Out here on the trail, literally I'm probably 4 or 5 miles north of the lake, if even that far. I've seen half a dozen hikers. We do cross some roads of the park, National Park, San Bernardino Park. And there have definitely been Jeeps and 4-wheel drive guys out there, but overall, 250,000 people. I see a valley. I can't tell if there's anybody in the entire valley. Okay, so maybe I wasn't 5 to 6 miles away from that 250,000 people. I think they're all over there. That's Big Bear Lake. Hello. How you doing? Hello. Hey guys. Hi. Make the peak? Yep. Sweet. Eddie. And the ski resort and San Gabriel Mountains behind it. Been quite a trip. We're just north of there right now. Based on what I see looking over my shoulder, I fear I'm about to leave the beautiful forest behind. This morning continues to be a nice, gentle slope down. I'm back in the trees again, much to my surprise. Trail tread's in pretty good shape. I'm thinking it just keeps going down, which is awesome. You know, I don't remember climbing this high, and I know we don't go down that low, but clearly I must have. Maybe it's a lot like pregnancy, you know? After you have the kids, you forget how much trouble, well, actually I've never been pregnant, so I can't speak to this myself, but you forget how much pain and agony it was to get there. I know I climbed the hills, but right now, this gentle slope that just keeps going mile after mile after mile. Pretty nice hiking. And as you can see, we're definitely back in the trees. Okay, this would be rattlesnake number 3 for me. There he was, just in the trail, so I stopped. This is a bridge leading to where they have the hot springs. Great place to be, except let me tell you, not a Memorial Day weekend. There's like hundreds of people here. I can hear conversations below, music blaring from stereos up the hill, people walking around. This is not the day to be here. Okay, I might have to stand corrected. That was the Deep Creek Bridge, and it's Deep Creek, and that's where all those people were. Maybe there won't be that many people at the hot springs. They are 10 miles from here. And from the looks of the people I saw, they're not walking 10 miles, especially as hot as it's been today. It's nice now, sun's going down, but no way. Good morning. This is the 3rd day out of Big Bear. But let me make an observation about the 2nd day out of Big Bear. Second day out of Big Bear was a Memorial Day weekend. It was a Sunday. I didn't pass a single PCT hiker on the trail. Mind you, I saw plenty of day hikers and plenty of weekend backpackers. After all, it's Memorial Day weekend. Just no PTC hikers. The entire day. And it was a long day. So 23 miles or so. So that was a little surprising, but an interesting observation about Memorial Day weekend. I made a mistake yesterday. You may recall I mentioned about getting down to Deep Creek Bridge and the hundreds of people. I planned on camping there in that area, not exactly right there, but close to it. And I was so busy, a couple hours of daylight left, so I decided, nah, let's just keep going. That was a mistake. What I failed to realize is, well, for one thing, from that section on, it's a protected area. There's no camping. I knew that there was no camping at the hot springs, but I hadn't realized, or I'd forgotten, that this entire Deep Creek area is a no camping zone. That's probably why I decided to camp right before coming into it to start with, before my plans changed. And also, it's a cliff walk. So even if you wanted to, hide out someplace, find some place off the trail, there always been camps every couple of miles. For the last 50 miles, I could find a place to camp. But yeah, not so much here. Like I said, it's a cliff walk. What do I mean by a cliff walk? Well, here, let me show you. This is what I mean by a cliff walk. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of open space. Usually I could find a place to hide up in something like this. But here, yeah, it's rocks. And the trail itself going forward, it's on the edge of the cliff. Really, there's no place to camp. Yeah, here's the trail. That's what I'm looking at as a place to camp. Not very good. The reason there's no camping in this area is because Deep Creek is an environmental area where they are trying to restore a toad. And hopefully they're having success with it, because I know I sure paid the price when I got down to the Deep Creek spot that I thought, hey, here's a water crossing. There definitely ought to be camping in this area. And yes, all the no camping signs. But So I walked and walked and walked. Made for a long day at the end of the day. That wouldn't have been so bad, but right before I got to that camp, yeah, I twisted my ankle. So here I got a long day, tired, couldn't camp where I wanted to, decided to keep going, bad idea, twisted my ankle. Needless to say, although I made a lot of miles yesterday, it was not the night I wanted. Hey, the good news from all that walking is that I got less to go this morning to get to the Deep Creek Hot Springs. Might even be there at a time when it's reasonable to actually go in. I hope so. We'll find out when I get there. We'll also find out how crowded it is. After all, this is Memorial Day 2018. Oh wow, a bridge. There's a wooden bridge. So this, I would say, is not a cliff walk right here. I got a bridge. Wow. I can go fast on a bridge. A lot faster than I can trying to step carefully along the cliff. All right, you guys, take care. Good morning. So yesterday I shared with you that I hadn't seen any PCT hikers the day before. Yesterday was Memorial Day. I think I saw more PCT hikers yesterday than I've seen on any day, including, kickoff day when I left Moreno Lake, and there was a whole bunch of them. Part of that might have been timing, but part of it, I think, there was the hot springs, and there was a couple dozen at the hot springs, and definitely a dozen more that I saw at the last water site. The last few days haven't really been that interesting. It's desert, and it's more and more desert. It's been very hot, very dry. I was hoping after we left Big Bear we'd continue west through trees and forest, but we dropped down pretty quick into the desert, and it's just hot. It's not quite as bad as it was heading into Scissors Crossing, but it's hot. The trail's okay, mostly level. That's the nice part. Not a whole lot of ups and downs, but that actually makes it kind of less boring. It's more boring in that it's just a flat hike through hot, dry desert. I'll take pictures. You can judge for yourself. Today we're going to head off for Silverwood Lake. Hopefully be there in a couple of hours, and then we'll see where we're going from then. It's so cute. It's so friendly. It calls out to you. It's like that orange salsa down in Ensenada. The one the woman described as, it's like a cute little teddy bear just calling out to you to have some. And then you find out it's nothing but pure habanero and very hot. This is beautiful purple flower is attached to this poodle dog bush, of which there's plenty of it around here. And people tell me it's worse than poison oak if you get it on you. I'm going to avoid that. Well, we've just crested over into Silverwood Lake State Park and get to see the lake. One would think with a name like Silverwood, the lake would be surrounded by forests with beautiful silver pine trees. I don't know, you take a look. I'm not seeing a pine tree anywhere near the lake. Good morning. Well, this morning we'll see the end of Section C. We've got about 7 miles to go, but I thought I'd take a couple minutes to reflect on it, as I always do towards the end of each of these sections. Section C has had some real interesting change of environments, but it starts and ends the same way, with freeways and trains. Been hearing trains for the last couple of days as they come up the Cajon Pass and make their way across the Mojave Desert. When I started, I was down close to Palm Springs and Interstate 10. We're now going to be ending at Interstate 15 and Cajon Pass 132 miles later. It was desert there in the beginning, and it'll be desert here at the end. But in the middle, we had the mountains. The mountains were very nice. Quite enjoyed the stay up at Big Bear. A few good places to recommend there if you're going to be dining. I think I covered those earlier. You know, I promised myself when I took off to hike this, even from the beginning, my initial planning was that I always wanted to have a good time, and I wanted to take the time to see what was going on around me. I didn't want to be trapped in that situation where all you're doing is watching the trail, making sure every footfall happens where it needs to happen. That's why I was planning on doing it in 2 major jumps, California on one piece and Oregon and Washington on the other. Well, over the last few weeks out here, my knee's been bugging me a lot, so I've had to watch steps for that. And then a few days ago, I twisted my right ankle, rolled on it pretty hard, went down. And since that time, I've continually just focused on the trail. I have to actually remind myself to stop and take a look around, because after all, this is the scenic trail. You should be looking to see beautiful things. And if you're just looking down at the ground, yeah, it's kind of like highway hypnosis, driving at night on the freeway when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you just keep going and going, and it's the same thing passing you all the time. That's kind of like what the trail's gotten to right now. And I hear the next couple sections are hot and dry and much the same, and I'm like, you know what? I need to get this, fixed so that I'm not just walking and looking at the trail. That's not what I came to do. I came to see the scenery. So I'm gonna take a little time off, head on back home, do some physical therapy on my knee, give my ankle time to recover, and then hopefully get back out here. Although I'll probably jump forward. A lot of work in the desert sections is all about figuring out the water, how much you gotta carry, and making sure you get those miles in time to get to that next stop. I'm kind of looking forward to where I don't have to carry 6 liters of water now and then. Because that's really when the knee starts hurting the most. So when I'm carrying that extra weight, I drop the weight down. It seems to do fine. So I think between some physical therapy, maybe jumping up to where I don't have to carry so much water, slowing down to look at the scenery, that's the advice I'm taking, that I'm giving myself. It's also I'm also taking some of that advice from a guy named Cheez-It. Cheez-It was out here last year, and he says he was in really great physical shape. Took off, did well. He's doing his 20 plus days. Yeah, he got as far as Walker Pass. Basically, all of the desert, the harder part of this early section. And then he had so many injuries he had to come off trail. He tells me once you're off trail, it's really hard to get back on. I believe him, but I hope I can overcome it. You know, the things you have to overcome is, turning on a faucet and actually having water there at your fingertips, or deciding it's time to sleep for the night, and being able to just literally walk over to a bed and fall into it, as opposed to making camp and setting up. Now, I like doing those things. I mean, getting water from the streams is kind of cool. Setting up camp, breaking it down is kind of cool. But it's a luxury. Of course, the one thing I haven't been able to do out here, air conditioning. I haven't figured that out. There's some days there, you know, we're not hiking in the middle of the day in the heat, laying under some trees in the shade. It's better, but it's still hot. Tough to get a good sleep in the middle of the afternoon when it's, you know, mid-90s and kind of sticky. Actually, it's not very sticky out here. That's one of the good things. It is pretty dry. What else can I tell you about the trail? We're about to get a sunrise, which you may be able to see behind me, but it's not up yet. Well, we're off this morning. As you can see, there's a bit of a fog around. That caught me last night. Last night I didn't put the fly on my tent because I figured, hey, I'm in the desert, it's dry, it's been hot. No need to put a rain fly on, it's not gonna rain. Yeah, well, that's caught me a couple of times out here on the Pacific Crest Trail. I wake up in the middle of the night, reach my hand down on the outside of my sleeping bag, feel nothing but water. I didn't put the fly on last night. Didn't the night before either, it was fine. But some of these nights, when you're close enough to get this, I don't know whether it's marine layer or just cool, damp air in the evening. Anyway, it got wet. And I kind of should have known, because I was thinking about 8 or 9 o'clock last night. I took a couple of deep breaths. Oh, it smelled so good. It smelled like fresh, cool, damp, not wet, just damp air. And I should have guessed that later in the night that nice, cool, fresh feeling was going to turn into little drops of water inside my tent, because I didn't put the fly on. Anyway, some lessons you just got to learn over and over again. Yeah, so while, according to the official trail information, this section ends at Interstate 15, I think if you ask any hiker, this section ends at McDonald's. Apparently, this time of year, there's so many hikers that come into McDonald's that they basically take over the place, especially in the afternoon. Anybody who says rides there after 11 o'clock, it's warm enough, they just stay at McDonald's until about 4. So what happens pretty soon is the entire place is filled with PCT hikers. You know, the more normal tourist traveler coming down the road. Apparently they come in, place their orders, look around, yeah, jump back in their car, keep going. Hikers are a friendly group, but we look like a bunch of homeless people with some really nice backpacks. So, general population, if they don't know it's PCT, keep going. Those that do know it's PCT, it's amazing. Man, they'll sit, they'll talk, they have lots of good stories to share. People enjoy the idea of the PCT. So what's the trail look like in this last section? Heading into McDonald's, the intersection C. Oh, here's a little flavor for you. Got blue skies on one side, sun's coming in. I got fog on the other side. Got a nice breeze keeping it cool. And I got a trail. Pretty much looks like the trails look for a lot of places as far as the trail goes. This is actually a really nice section of trail. The tread's in great shape, you can walk fast. This whole section coming down from Big Bear has been a lot like this. Not a lot of elevation change, nice and slow. So for those that can go fast, you can make really good time on this trail. It's different than places we've been in the past where they had lots and lots of rocks, and you know, your steps were shortened to a foot and a half type steps over rocks and around bumps, compared to this where you can stride along if you got the legs for it. Anyway, there's a flavor of the trail. Chaparral, good tread, heading to the end of section C. Okay, this may look boring to you, but let me tell you what you're looking at. This dark soil here. Now I understand why my tent was wet and where these plants get their water from. We're up here on the ridge, and it's enough of a fog going over that it's literally raining underneath these trees. Flowers up here and raindrops down here. Some places it pulls enough water out of this fog that it literally starts running down from the plant on the side of the hill. I was hoping to have some spectacular footage of Cajon Pass for you this morning, but due to an actually rather pleasant change in the weather, well, trust me, there's cars and trains down there, but yeah, so much for Cajon Pass from above. So this wind is getting like it was when we approached the I-10. You know, it's definitely not 25 knots, but it's a good 20 knots. Or as Chris Parker would say down in the Caribbean, 10 to 15 knots with gusts to 25 around the edges of the squalls. I think I'm on the edge of the squall. I don't know if you can hear it over the wind. There's power lines out here somewhere. I've seen them on the map. I can sure hear them. They're sparking all over the place. Nice good hum going on. But I don't see them. Found them. Kind of glad I did too, because I couldn't find the trail either. But now I have. It's pretty foggy out here. Couldn't see 50 feet. And needed to know to go down the road, but got it. Making our way now. Hey, the good news is, although I can't see 50 feet, I can still see my hand in front of my face. So at least I know where I'm at. It's like eggs frying in a pan. Well, if you've ever wondered where the edge of the world was, I think I found it. It's right here. We got this little edge and it goes off into nothing. And I mean nothing. This steeper part here, it's telling me it's the right thing to do to get off trail and focus on getting the knees strong again. You debate coming off trail a lot, and there's plenty of time for you to debate with yourself when you're out here about it. You know, it's not an easy thing to want to do, and I really don't want to do it, but I tell you, this descent down to the end of section C, where it's got the steeper angle, is definitely convinced me it's the right thing to do for a while. My knee's definitely hurting again. And I gotta admit how nice it's been the last several days where the trail makers had the descent be fairly gradual. This steeper one here, it's telling me it's the right thing to do. Well, there it is, folks. 342 miles of trail. The end of section C. Kind of hard to make it all out, but it's there. The freeway, trains going by. Plenty of wind this morning, as you can see. Very cool and cold. Headed into McDonald's to get warm. Never expect to be headed in to get warm. Anyway, that's next stop.